Alright, malicious, delicious people. So, have you ever heard of a double feature? Yes. But, what about a triple feature? I love triple features because they need more of those to where they show a bunch of things! Like a bunch of characters at once who are correlated to each other. Giggity. Alright, so first things first, we're gonna start off with the stat stick itself. That being the mechanics as well as how I mod it. So first things first, you gotta take into consideration that the way that stat sticks work is that it has to affect the weapon in some capacity in order to affect the weapon that is being used as the ability that takes the damage and the stats from the stat stick. The stat stick must be affected in some way. Essentially, with the ceramic dagger, if you want to increase the slash, you instead need to do something else because it has no slash, so it's not going to increase the slash, as I have tested. When it comes to crit chance and crit damage, it affects it, but you do want to take into consideration that the ability itself has a crit chance and a crit damage. With Khora, I do believe it's 25 and crit chance and 25 status. So, you do want to make sure that you have both Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds. That allows you to utilize the status as well as the crit up to a couple red numbers. Basically, it shows a very high amount of crit multiplier. What's it called? Tier. Crit tier. It's at least 5 from what I test. The thing about stat sticks is actually, with Khora specifically, she actually only takes 50% of the mods, so keep that in mind. When it comes to Atlas, Atlas is actually the lowest at 5% crit. And the reason why this is not too bad when it comes to incarnate weapons, being the ceramic dagger, with incarnate mode activated, is that you can actually increase the base amount by a flat amount rather than a modded amount for some other weapons. This means you can have his go up to 40% crit chance, which allows you to hit reds and hit for millions on shielded enemies, or like a couple 100,000 on a heavy gunner if you manage to get it with the viral, which we're going to status now. When it comes to status, you basically get the status from the weapon, but some of the pseudo-exalteds that are affected by stat sticks have this issue where they actually force a specific damage type, or it could technically be the status ailment, being bleed for Excalibur, which is very unfortunate. But if you manage to put corrosive on here instead of viral, you can actually make it to where you do more damage to acolytes, which is great because you can't. I do believe you can actually put Bane mods in here, but I decided to go with a Bane mod without a Bane mod. So cool. So I'm gonna show you the setup in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Alright, so first things first, we're going to start off with the least requested Warframe, due to the fact that I want to make sure I reward you for staying longer. Ooh. So keep in mind that, you know, you're going to get up to that sweet, sad kitty. So, yes. So, when it comes to Atlas's build, he's basically going to use his 1 with his Orgaze Augment. It reaches up to red crits, and these red crits reach up to 1,000,000 damage on shielded enemies. Plus, because of the way that works, there's a lot of CC, and the fact that every time he picks up rubble, he heals himself. So survivability is not a problem, especially since you're immune to damage while you're using his 1, and it allows him to basically just power through everything. And believe it or not, that's literally all you do. If you want to get the 4 out there to get people to leave you alone, that's up to you. But the way I do it is literally for the 1. Plus, they don't last too long in Steel Pass, and they don't really do much besides CC. You can also go and put what's it called? Petrify one. When you use Petrify, you can freeze them, but you technically do that automatically, so it's not necessary. With the wall, I couldn't find an ability that would be able to deal with this, so in actuality, I think you would want to replace that with a damage increaser, maybe like Roar, or maybe even Eclipse. But the thing is, like, I didn't deem it necessary just because he just fucks. So, completely up to you how you would want to adjust this. Just remember to learn from people's builds and make sure that you apply that to your build to make adjustments for your playstyle. So, here's the build.
My first life was boring, just forget I mentioned it. And my second seemed to let me do all of the things the first life did. And third life was a hateful man, all poison to the bone. And my fourth life played piano, but just didn't have the eyes to read the notes.
Alright, so next up is Excalibur. Keep in mind with Excalibur, his build is a little bit tighter than the other ones. Excalibur has this weird situation where he does have the immunity frames as he's attacking, but the same thing with Atlas, which is where his shields can still get hit, comes into play. But also another thing, where he doesn't have the ability to heal himself, so what you're actually gonna have to like have a means to do that. I chose a single blue Archon shard, and it managed to do wonders. Basically, as long as you stay mobile and out of the way of attacks, you could basically take out everybody you want to, including the Acolytes. Violence? Yes, you can actually take out Violence with his ability, because Violence has a Wiper and a Blocker. As soon as the Wiper and the Blocker have been used, you can actually go and swipe them anyway. I would suggest with him that you use Corrosive on the dagger rather than Viral, due to the fact that, like I said before, he has no ability to apply Viral with his blade. So you might as well just go for way more damage, specifically the weakness of the enemy you're fighting. Unless you intend to use the blade to attack things, but the way that it works is with his augment, so you basically do not need to do that in order to get combo. As long as you manage to either scour the place for energy or use Zeneric, you should be able to get to a point where you don't have energy issues. But like I said, his build is very tight, and it's not leaving room for much adjustment besides Archon shards in order to accommodate the craziness, right? Because he is a little bit more, how we say, squishy than the other ones, just because of his inability to heal himself. He is using an adaptation space thinking build, but honestly, stay mobile or you die. Anyway, here's the build.
In my fifth life I sported girls, of course that wasn't all. My sixth life was corrupted, though I guess it was a little fun. Seventh life I cried so much and all I did was mourn. And my eighth life was so rich I could have bought the world and everything. In this life is a game.
Alright, so it's time for your reward, because everybody loves Khora, that sad toy cat that you just wanna cuddle until she's no longer sad. So here's the way that it works. Instead of doing a 2-in-1 build, I have a 1-2-3 build. The way that it works is actually like this. You want to put Citrine's Subsume on her too, because one of the biggest problems with the 4-in-1 build is actually because it's very expensive. But this accommodates that to be a little bit more user-friendly. The way that works when it comes to the gameplay style, pop your 4, then pop your 2, after like going far enough away to hit all of them, and then hit your 1 until, well, specifically in the middle of the ball, because the explosion that the whip does is the same size as the ball, and if you hit everybody, you actually hit people multiple times because it hits one person and spreads that damage to everybody else. So if you hit multiple people, you get multiple numbers, which is very, very hilarious. So, when it comes to utilizing Khora, that's essentially what you want to do. You are going to be using Equilibrium because survivability is a must. You are going to have the cat as well, but that's because switching her to different modes can make it to where you can do any content rather than just survival or just anything combat related, right? And I do usually use universal builds that can do almost anything. When it comes to this, you definitely want to use it in a defensive mission mostly, a survival mission most of the time as well, but everything else, I would just prefer to whip everything because essentially the range is so large that it essentially is capable of doing whatever you want to do as long as you are proficient enough with the whip and monitoring your combo as well as monitoring your energy. Essentially, you're going to be monitoring a lot of things with these builds because you will run out of energy very quickly. So you have to make sure you target specific enemies, mainly the Eximus, in order to get your energy back. Because you're going to be running out a lot. And so, I will be showing you the build in 3, 2, 1, ba-boom!
Played by a blinking gun, he gambles every life. Try to escape, but you know the path you're on is game instead. See how the game of life is playing all of us for fools. Dancing string around us, making all these silly rules. See how he looks down on us like we're acting out a show. Throw the dice and let's see which head will roll. By 9 I drew some manga, but the deadlines left me dead. My 10th life was a teacher as a pet. I worked part-time, next life what 11. Sorry, I tried to forget.
Alright, my delicious people, so that was the triple feature, yay! Of the stat stick using Warframes. In actuality, there's more than this, but the one that I am very, like, having a hard time dealing with is, there's the third type of stat stick. There's actually 2 of them that you saw. So first one is this. Basically the true stat stick, basically meaning all the mods and stuff are like being used at 100% capacity. And then there's the diminished stat stick, which is the one that says, okay, I'm only gonna use 50%, which is on Khora, but you're still doing like multiple millions, so it's not exactly too bad of a thing. And then there's the one in Caliban and I do believe Ember. Essentially, the stat stick is just, there's a few things missing. With Caliban, you literally just do straight up base, like the damage of the melee weapon gets transferred to your progeny. I remember making it to a point where Caliban did one-shot Steel Path Heavy Gunners, but that was a long time ago on my other profile, and I do think that there might have been some updates after that, but I do not know. When it comes to Ember, I don't have enough information to figure out how exactly to cause that stat stick to be effective. I do believe it's her 4 though. So, yeah. Unless it was removed, in which case it might have been a glitch. And if that's the case, then she probably wouldn't count, but the thing is, like, I have old information, so that's why I'm having issue trying to build her. So, yeah, there's that. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you have wonderful, wonderful nightmares, and remember, if you're watching my content, I know you're into it. Honey, honey. Mwah. I hope it was entertaining.